Hello and welcome back to this channel. My name is Zoe and in today's video I want to talk about all the books I read in March. Normally I go from my worst rated book to the best rated book, and today we do the order that I read the books. First things first, I love some good stats, so let's talk about how my stats for the month were. I read in the end of March 8 books. I had an average rating between 3.63 and I read over 3,396 pages. I read 5 of them physical, 1 was on my Kindle, 2 books I listened to as an audiobook. This doesn't make even sense, but I show up. 4 books of them were adult books, 1 was a new adult and 3 were YA books. I had 2 5 stars, 3 4 stars, 2 3 stars and 1 1 star. So let's start with the first book, or the first 2 books. If you watched I'm rereading my old favorites and see if I still like them video, vlog, or watched my last wrap up, you will know that I read the YVEN series by Kerstin Gier again. This was my favorite book as a teenager or child, let's say like that, because I read the first book I think when I was 9, 10, and I reread them from time to time. And I didn't manage to read everything in February, but I finished the second and the other way around, the second and the third book in March. So I read Saphirblau, and I don't know how this stone is called. This crystal is called in English Smaragdgrün. Oh, you can't really see it. So I gave Saphirblau a 4 star, and this one is a 5 star for me. Saphirblau is the middle book of a trilogy. It was not bad, I really liked it. I mean, 4 stars also a really good rating. But this book was definitely more on the side that you learn some new things that you didn't really get to know in the first book, and it's more the build up to the final for the third book. And if you don't know the YVEN series, which is something I think most of people don't do, YVEN is about Gwendolyn Shepherd and her family. In a different family there runs a time travel gene, but not everyone can have it. There are only 12 people in history who can have this time traveler gene, and everyone thought that her cousin Charlotte has the gene. But it turns out, obviously, that not Charlotte has the gene, Gwendolyn has this time traveler gene. And so she learns in a few days how to survive traveling in time, goes to adventures, and yeah, and just together with a grumpy 2-year-older boy named Gideon, who's also a time traveler. And yeah, I really like it. If you ignore the fact that everything from the first to the third book happened in 13 days, I think these are great books. After my reread from these beautiful books, I read The Awakening, Zodiac Academy by, how does it called? Caroline Peckham and Susanne Valenti. And this was for the Kiss and Tell book club. This was the February pick, and I didn't manage to finish this to the live show. I actually finished the book, I think, 1 day after the live show and read the last 50 pages. So I basically finished the book, okay, before the live show, but I forced myself through the book to finish this, and this was a 1 star for me. Honestly, this shit is so bad, and if I offended someone, please stop following this channel, but this is fucking trash. So we follow twins named Darcy and how was the other one called? Dorsey and Tori. And this makes no sense from the beginning to the back. I mean, it's a fantasy book. Fantasy, how much sense can it make? And I would say, even if it's a fantasy world and everything is created of someone's fantasy, there should be still sense in the world building, and here's no sense at all for world building. Even if when there still wasn't when the twins were still in the human world didn't even make sense. It started with the fact that they had a rent. They saved $2,000 and this was 6 months worth of rent in Dallas. I'm not living in the US, but I know what the housing market here in my town is, and this is a small town in Germany. $2,000 will not last for 6 months. I don't know which threshold they lived in, but this doesn't make any sense. The whole world that they traveled to, I don't know why they suffered through this to be in this world, because there was nothing special in this world, and not any money in this world can hold me in this world. I think the last thing that will hold me in this world is my pride, to not give up. But it's okay to give up if someone is treating you like this, and they treated her, especially like the heirs to the throne, treated her like them like trash. It was straight up bullying, and the teachers watching like, yeah, this is how it is here, straight up bullying. Yeah, no, it's trash. It was a trash. No, 1 star, and even a 1 star was pushing it. Okay, after that 1 star, I finished. I also think something controversial, if someone will like this, and I have something to say about this. So I read Spare by Prince Harry. The first things what I say in the front before I talk about the book, how I liked it and what rating I give in the end, is this is a memoir. So a person is telling their life story. Of course, with him publishing his life story, he gave people the platform to judge about what he's wrote in there, what he written in there, wrote in there. I don't even know what the right term for it is, I'm sorry. But he obviously gave the people, us, the reader, the publicity, the newspapers, and all the people, he gave a place to judge about what happened in his life. But I will still please remind you that this is still someone's life, and if you don't like it, don't tell them. It's like, imagine you telling someone your life, everything what happened in your life from birth to now, and someone's like, yeah, this was a shitty story, I give you a 1 star. Yeah, of course it was a shitty story because it was my fucking life, but it's still my life. And this is something controversial to say, but at least what I do when I read memoirs of people, if I don't like it, I don't give it a rating, because it's not fair to the author to judge about their life and like, oh, I didn't like when this and this happened. I think the person didn't like this either, but it still happened to them, and they can change the fact. They can just talk about it to spread awareness or something like that. And if I like it, I give it a 5 stars, because this is the story of a person's life, and they deserve either not a rating or a 5 star. So, but let's get to Spare, what I think about this book. So I give in the end to Spare a 5 star. It talks about Prince Harry's life. It's parted into 3 parts. The first part is his childhood, living in this world, and the death of his mother, Princess Diana. And the second part, he talks about his teenager life, how about his grief when his mother died, and that he never really get any help from his family to maybe deal with this trauma, and how he joined the military and what happened to him in the military. And then obviously the last part is when he met Meghan and all the shit that went down in this part, with him meeting Meghan, the paparazzi, and all the racist stuff that happened to Meghan, and how his family treated her and stuff like that. And I need to say, for me it was already a 5 star the moment when he talked about his mother, because this was Prince Harry definitely really loved his mother, and her death to him was, I think, the most horrible thing that happened to him in his whole life. I would not say if this were completely true, but this was definitely a point in his life where he was at his lowest. And you need to think about Prince Harry when his mother died. How old was he? I don't really remember, I think 10, 11, and all the paparazzis following him around, 11-year-old boy. After his mother died, he was really miserable. He asked for help. He also didn't want to live anymore, so we had a suicidal 11-year-old boy whose mother died and nobody helped him. I cried. I cried for him when he couldn't, because he was not allowed to cry, because like he needs to have a facade to hold up to the public, to not show anything that something bothers him. So this was already a 5-star for me, and the rest of the book, it was the perfect tea for me. You need to, if you don't know me, I think most of the people don't know me, I love tea, I love drama, as long as I'm not included in this drama, but I love listening to drama. I always love to listen to other people's drama. I just love it. I love the tea, I love the drama. This is something that makes me happy. This is why when something happens in the world of celebrities, I am always looking out. I'm like, and I text my best friend, do you know what happened? This is why my heart pumps, okay? So the tea that happened in this book, it wasn't much, because it's still a family, but the things that happened, it made me realize, I mean, obviously I know that the British royals are still a family, but the fact that they try so hard to be different than other families and still be a real family, it's so funny for me. But I give this a 5 stars. Okay, let's move on. The next book I read was Trial by Fire by Josephine Angelini. This was also my reread, my favorites. So if you haven't watched the video, I talk more in depth about this. I give this in the end a 3-star. I remember that I really liked this. This is about the witch Lily, and she lives in our world, and because of something what happened to her, she decides to follow a voice in her head that asks her to travel to another world, and then she goes to this world and she found her doppelganger. It was also called Lillian. Lillian is her real name, Lily is just a nickname. And it turns out that Lily is a witch, and this Lillian wants her to follow her rules that she wants to push through. And Lily is like, no, I will not do that. And then you follow her. It's standing right in the back, okay? At least in the German translation, it's right in the back what I told you now. And the book is good. Don't get me wrong. 3 stars is for me still a really good rating. I just give this a 3-star because it's a lot of word building. A lot of word building. I would say this part is her in the human world. This part in the back is the battle of the book, and everything in between is just pure world building of them explaining her how the world works, what witches do in this world, what is and she explained them what's different in her world that she's based on, and it's a lot, and you get to know a lot of rituals, how they do that, how they do that, how they do that. It's a lot, and not a lot happens for a big part, except Lily learning how to control her powers. So yeah, it was a 3-star for me. I have in the back of my mind to maybe reread the second and the third book too, but not now, because I have so many books that I need to read on my unread book stack. But yeah, definitely still a good book. After that, I finally finished A Fire Endless by Rebecca Ross, and this is the illuminated edition of the book. I think it's stunning. So I started reading this in January and I finished it finally in the end of March. It had nothing to do with the book. I was in a little bit of a reading slump. That's why I reread my favorite books. So, but I finished it. I would say the beginning for me was slow because when I'm honest, I forgot a little bit why we ended up having a second book. What happened in the end of the first book that made us lead up to this book. We were enchanted, which is the first book. We have the Isle of Cadence, and we follow 4 different people on this island, each of them a couple. In the first book, children are gone missing, and Jack, who is a bard, he gets recruited from Adira, who is the heiress of the East, and she wants to search for the girls, and with the help of Jack, who's a bard, she wants to search for these missing children. And when I finally realized what the whole problem in the Fire Endless was, I really enjoyed the story, and I also like the dynamics between each character. This is something I already liked in the first book, in the River Enchanted, and yeah, I really love the series, and I really recommend to you reading the books. Did I say that the Fire Endless was a 4-star for me? It was a 4-star. Then, to be on point for my book clubs, I read Teach Me. Teach Me is the book club pick was the book club pick for Kiss and Tell for March. Follow a teacher couple, Rose and Martin, and Martin is new to the school and takes some classes, history classes from Rose, and Rose is the original history class teacher in the school. And obviously we have some not really beef there, but it's not a good start for both of them as new colleagues with him taking her classes. I mean, he couldn't do anything about it. He got to the school and the chief told him, yeah, you have these classes now, and he was like, okay, and not really, he didn't really realize that Rose had originally these classes and Rose had less classes now, but okay. And what I want to say about this book is I give it in the end a 4-star. I really enjoyed it. What I need to say that I had a little bit of a slow start in the book because it talks a lot about history and the high school system in the US, and I'm not from the US, so I didn't really understand what they're talking about. They were like AP honors class, and I was like, what is this? What is this? I mean, I could Google it. Did I Google it? No. I could have done this, but I was like, I figured this out on my own. I didn't. But okay, besides that, I think in Teach Me, Martin and Rose are definitely older characters. They are over 40, and I think this is something you will know in the book, notice in the book, because the way they handled their problems or talked about the problems was way more mature than in every other romance book that I read. When they had already previous relationships that went wrong, they got divorced and all stuff, so they already know from themselves what they want in life, what they don't no longer want in their life, and they are not too shy about it to communicate that. And this was really refreshing, and I really loved it. If you're looking out for something like people in a book who communicate in a mature way, I would definitely recommend this book to you. And the last book is a German book, so I'm sorry for everyone who can't read in German. I read Vergiss uns nicht from Laura Kneidl. This is a third book in the series that I read years ago. The first 2 books are from a different couple. The one character from the first couple is related to the main character in this book, so they are brothers and sister. And now we follow the sister from the main character from the first 2 books and the best friend from the main character from the first 2 books. And yeah, April, who is the female main character, she was her whole life in love with Gavin, but Gavin is this mysterious man who has all these problems. And yeah, this is, like I told you in the moment before, that I loved how in Teach Me they talked in a mature way about the problems. Yeah, here we are back to teenagers. This is your adult. I love books from Laura Kneidl. I really love them. I think if you follow the channel longer now, you would know that I read a few books from her before, and I reviewed them and told you that they are great. and also like the fantasy series from her, that is one of my favorite fantasy series, and I'm sad that it didn't translate it. But this is sadly the same formula as every new adult book that I know. Like, we have this character, our female main character who has a problem, we have a male main character that has a problem. They both keep it a secret for 300 pages, and then maybe one of them talks about it, and then we have a cliffhanger and we need to wait for the second book. And this is exactly what happened in here. I'm not mad about it. I think I like April and Gavin as a character, each of them, and I understand why at least Gavin didn't really talk about his problems, because I don't think I would do this either. I can understand that why he didn't say a thing, but still, it was a twister for me. It was like, not again. Maybe, yeah. Will I read the next book to realize how they figured it out and live happily ever after? Of course I will do that. So this was everything I read in March. I think it was a good mixture of bad books and not so bad books and good books. And let me know in the comments if you have read any of these books and what you think about them, or what you have read in March. And then I wish you all a happy day, a happy weekend whenever you watch this, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!